Welcome to our Sunday morning meditation service. And that was fine. You could have just, that lasted a little longer. The grace of God surrounds and enfolds me. From the moment I greet the day, in the moment I rest at night, I am enfolded in the grace of God. So we're going to do a call and response. I'm going to call, and you're going to respond. Okay. Open my heart. Let only love flow through me. Center my soul upon the path of peace. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. Open my mind. Let kindness flow through me. Centered in love, a love with no end. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. Open my eyes to see love before me, radiant love shining through all. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. Open my heart. Let only love flow through me. Center my soul upon the path of peace. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. let kindness flow through me. Centered in love, a love with no end. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. Open my eyes to see love before me. Radiant love, shining through all. Make of my life a melody of love. God is in all of life. We are all one. Creator of all life. Creator of all life. Creator of all life. Creator of all life. Bring us to the light. Bring us to the light. Bring us to the light.
Good morning, everyone. While pursuing the spiritual journey, or you might say, while pursuing spiritual truth, or pursuing the bedrock meaning of life, that is, what is our purpose here, people will be prone to have otherworldly experiences, mystical experiences, visions. And I'm going to share some of this with you because it is very interesting and borders on the extraordinary. I'm going to be sharing with you the experiences of Helen Schuckman, who is or was the scribe of A Course in Miracles. And what I'm going to be sharing is from a book titled Journey Without Distance, written by a gentleman named Robert Scutch. He and his wife were instrumental in putting the Course in Miracles into publishing form as a book and being able to then distribute it. There has been, when you think of A Course in Miracles, 3 huge volumes, which is how they were published and sold in the beginning. They are now, I guess, somewhere in the vicinity of 10 million copies of that Course in Miracles has been sold throughout the world. But I'm going to share with you some of the things about the visions and mystical experiences that Helen Schuckman had leading up to her scribing the Course in Miracles. You should keep in mind that at this time in her life, she is an avowed atheist. And she was also raised very much in relationship to her Jewish family, but she had a very different, almost odd childhood because she was raised by a nanny, a nurse, in an apartment area that was rooms away from the area that her mother and father lived in, and her brother had his own room. But she was raised by a nanny who happened to be a fairly devout Catholic. And in her early years, 5, 6 years old, Helen went to church with her and was very interested in trying to find God. So she went to church with her quite a bit on a Sunday. The parents actually didn't care because her father was a very intelligent, very wealthy man. He had to be wealthy. They had a 10-room apartment in New York City. And Helen and her nurse, they called her a nurse, she was a nanny, lived at one end of it, and the parents lived at the other end. The father was raised Jewish, but had rejected the whole concept of God and Judaism. He wasn't necessarily a pointed, angry atheist or anything like that. He was an open-minded person that just said, let things be what they are. If you want to believe in that religion or this religion, it's all good to me. And her mother was someone who had tried different spiritual religions, not spiritual religions. And then she wound up, I think, Theosophist with the Theosophist Society. So it was a very mixed experience. And Helen was always kind of really interested to find the reality or the meaning of God. Does God actually exist? And she was actually even baptized in a Baptist setting. She went to a Catholic church for a while, and then her nursemaids changed, and the other one was a fundamental Christian, and she went to church with her. And at some point, she wanted to be baptized because this particular nursemaid said, well, that's what you do if you want to see God. She'll see God. Anyway, she was baptized, and the father agreed. The mother said, fine. And then at one point, she went with her family, they traveled to Europe, and she went to France. And in this particular area, the Lloyds of London, I think, might have been in England, they had all these different, on these altars they have there, they had these crutches that people threw away because they were healed. And so the whole idea of seeing God and being healed by God. she's just a young girl still, maybe only 9 or 10 years old. And she goes to her balcony in the evening and she speaks out to the sky, God, if you really exist, show me a sign, send a shooting star. And she just finished saying that when the entire sky filled with shooting stars. And she was so thrilled by the whole idea. And the following day, they were with a tour guide who said, this is the time of year where you'll see shooting stars coming across the sky every night. And it kind of dampened her idea that, you know, she had this special experience, but then she stopped believing. Stuff like this happened through her life as she was growing up. And she was always an avid student. She actually became a psychologist and an intellectual. And having had many experiences this way and that way, she set her mind on science. In other words, the only thing you could believe in or should believe in is that which can be proven scientifically. So, and she had this whole idea. She was a psychologist. So when things happened to her that were out of the ordinary or otherworldly, they were disturbing to her, and it caused her fear and consternation. I'm going to share one of the first things that took place with her. This is all from the book Journey Without Distance. Despite, or perhaps because of her attitude, a series of startling events began to take place in Helen's life. The first one occurred one cold winter evening when she and Louis, her husband, were taking a long subway ride to visit some friends. Helen detested riding in the subway, and the fact that they had to wait 15 minutes on the cold platform before a train came by did not help her spirits. When the train finally arrived, it was jammed, and there were no empty seats available. When she and Louis, her husband, finally did get seats, she was feeling unusually angry and sorry for herself, especially since Louis was buried in his newspaper, completely oblivious to her suffering. As she looked around the car, all she saw were shabby, dirty-looking people. Remember, this is New York City, okay? You can't get on the wrong car on a subway and see something like that. Across the aisle, a child with a candy bar pawed at his mother's face, leaving her cheeks smudged with chocolate. A child a few seats down picked up some chewing gum from the floor and stuck it in his mouth. At the far end of the car, a group of semi-intoxicated old men were arguing loudly with each other. Helen closed her eyes in disgust, feeling sick to her stomach. And then a stunning thing happened. A blinding light seemed to blaze up behind her eyes and fill her mind completely. Without opening her eyes, she seemed to see a figure, which she knew to be herself, walking directly into the light. The figure seemed to know exactly what she was doing. She paused and knelt down, touching the ground with her elbows, wrists, and forehead, in what looked like an Eastern expression of deep reverence. Then the figure got up, walked to the side, and knelt down again. Can we have the rest of this on PowerPoint, please? The outline of a huge arm seemed to reach around her, and then she disappeared. The light grew even brighter, and Helen felt the most indescribably intense love streaming from it. It was so powerful a feeling that she literally gasped and opened her eyes. She saw the light just an instant longer, during which she loved everyone on the train with that same incredible intensity. Then the light faded, and the old reality of dirt and ugliness returned to her. The contrast was truly shocking, and it took her several minutes to regain a semblance of composure. This is first among the particular mystical experiences and visions that Helen Schuckman had. And every one of them was a problem for her. It's simply, she would discount them. They came and they went, but she would not hold the idea that, just like the shooting star, she just wrote it off. This is not any proof of this intelligence people refer to as God. So, A Course in Miracles itself, and as you know, A Course in Miracles came directly through her. She was a brilliant shorthand writer. So she wrote A Course in Miracles in shorthand. Her and her partner, who was also her boss at the psychiatric clinic and hospital in New York City, Columbia University, he and her were the ones that then put it into words, a semblance of words. Well, it was all written out, but they had to take it out of the shorthand and put it into, and they did that together. Bill Thetford was his name. And so the Course speaks to the whole concept of visions. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? And such mystical experience. You can read this in the Course in Miracles text, page 36, paragraph 3. That's the old text. I forgot to take the time to put in there what the new edition actually is. But that is on 36 is about chapter 3, so it'll probably be close to the same in the new edition. The questioning mind perceives itself in time and therefore looks for future answers. The closed mind believes future and the present will be the same. This establishes a seeming stable state that is usually an attempt to counteract an underlying fear that the future will hold. This fear inhibits a tendency to question at all. That's a complete erroneous Course in Miracles. That's not exactly the one I wanted to share, and I guess I got it mixed up when I gave it to Heather to type, so that's not it. The one that I wanted to share with you about mystical experiences and visions says that mystical experiences and visions that come to one through perception are not altogether the most valid ideas that will bring you into the divine or God consciousness. They will come and they may be very inspiring, but you will know the ones that are direct God contact experiences in your own soul awareness. You will know them to be those which bring you into God consciousness, and not necessarily just as inspiration, but these will lead you into an awareness that is referred to in A Course in Miracles as knowledge. So there's always a difference between perception and knowledge, as A Course in Miracles defines it. And while Helen's vision on the train began with a shift in perception, she entered the awareness of God consciousness. It could be said that this is the way God envisions his creations. All of us also being God's creation, or extensions of God. So that vision of love, where all the appearances that people are cloaked with, actually they sort of disappear, and you're looking at their essential essence as souls. So you see and feel only this indescribable love for them and from them. And that can be said is the way God envisions all of creation. Unfortunately, we do not ordinarily see each other free of being cloaked in our body-conscious beliefs. And this is referred to in the Bible. Sometimes they give a whole talk on a Bible portion where a Pharisee is disclaiming this woman's right to be in the presence of this great teacher, Jesus. And Jesus says to him, "Do you see this woman?" And what he's saying is, you don't. You only see your beliefs about her and the things that have been said about her. And that's our flaw, by the way. What we see is we see through our collection of beliefs. And so we're seeking to arrive at a place where we simply live in the awareness of God as love. So wherever we go, whether we see it or not, we are generating this awareness, which is love. Helen had many mystical experiences which she feared and discounted as not true, especially her visions, which came as visual moving pictures like video going right before her eyes. When Helen was a child, she would have pictures show up before her eyes, pictures. And they weren't necessarily spiritual or whatever, just pictures of things that sometimes they were things she remembered, sometimes they were things she never saw before, but then they would come and go very quickly. And they were still pictures. So now when we talk about visions, these are like seeing a video before your eyes. And if you close your eyes, you still see it happening in your mind's eye. So this is what is taking place. And what would happen is she would see these visual experiences which very much indicated her past lives. Many of them indicated her past lives, especially with this partner she had, Bill Whitson. And she would say, speak of the visions, that she was looking at a vision taking place, but then somehow or other she would enter it and become one of the characters in the vision. The visions took place over a period of a few months, and while they depicted her in past lifetimes, she wasn't always depicted as noble or enlightened or an enlightened character. In one of the past life visions, Helen was a high priestess whose power was threatened by a rebellious slave who was Bill Whitson, who she was compelled to slay by driving a spear into his heart. All of these visions culminated with this vision, and these visions in A Journey Without Distance, some of them are written objectively as Scotch spoke to her and she's relating to him, but most of them are written in her own first-person way. She wrote right into them. This one is one of those where it's actually her words that are being spoken here. So this is from Journey Without Distance, page 27, paragraph 2. Despite, or perhaps because of her, no, that's not it. This is actually page 28, paragraph 1. No, that's not it either. Alrighty, okay. This is actually Journey Without Distance, page 40 to 41. The series of visions ended on a note of final achievement and even glory. This is Helen now. I was standing in a room that seemed to be on the top floor of a church building. Bill Whitson, seated at a huge old-fashioned church organ, was playing Handel's Hallelujah Chorus, his face lit with joy. He had finally reached our goal. We had finally reached our goal. I was standing in front of a simple brown wooden altar on which 2 words were written, one underneath the other. I cannot imagine a less appropriate word pair. The top word was Elohim, which I did not recognize at the time, and only later discovered it is one of the Hebrew names for God. The other word, Evo, I did identify as the cry of the Greek Bacchantes in celebrating the rites of Bacchus, the Bacchanalia god, who is the god of drinking and orgies. As I watched, a streak of lightning from the back of the church struck the altar and obliterated the second word entirely, so that only Elohim remained within bright golden letters. Can we have the rest of this on PowerPoint, please? The Hallelujah Chorus rose to a crescendo, and a figure outlined in brilliant light, which I recognized immediately as Jesus, stepped from behind the altar and came toward me. I started to kneel in front of him, but he came around to my side and knelt at the altar with me. Bill rose, that's Bill Whitson at the organ, rose and knelt at his other side. And then a voice with which I was to become increasingly familiar said in silent but perfect clear words, "That altar is within you." The emotional impact of the conclusion was so powerful that I burst into tears. And I mean, honestly, who wouldn't? This particular vision that you had, you would think would have absolutely been compelling enough for her to drop her resistance to the idea of mystical experiences and past lives, which she had still following this. She still had great resistance to the whole idea. Remember, she was a really focused intellect who believed only in that which was empirically able to be proven. And so when these things are happening to her, like if it happened to any of us, for the most part, we would have just melted in place. But she left this, still had resistance to the whole idea of there being these divine experiences, divine levels of awareness, or that there is even this Jesus who can move through time and speak to you where you are, where you're at. So she was not want to even write A Course in Miracles. Sometime after these visions took place, she was in her room, living with her husband in New York City, and the same voice she heard in this vision, she calls it right here, become increasingly familiar, said in silent but perfectly clear words. Silent but perfectly clear words. So this in itself it's like psychic. It's not, some people see Jesus dictating down to Helen in words that she could hear, but she calls them silent but very distinct words that she wrote in A Course in Miracles. And she is not one. She's back in her room weeks later, and this voice comes to her, and it says to her, take notes. And it keeps saying to her, take notes. And she has her notepad out, and she's going to take notes, but she says, I might be going crazy. She's thinking, I'm going crazy. This is what's happening. So she calls Bill Thetford and says, Bill, I'm getting this voice. I think I need to get some psychiatric treatment. I need to go and get examined. And he said, well, what is the voice saying? It's saying, take notes. Bill says to her, well, take notes. Whatever it says, write it down, and then we'll get together tomorrow early before work starts, and we'll go over it, and if it's gibberish, great, fine, and we'll get rid of it, and we'll make sure you're just fine. If you need some help, we'll get you some help, but that's it. And that night, she goes off the phone, it says, take notes. This is A Course in Miracles. And it's at the very front of the book. This is A Course in Miracles. And I forget exactly how it transpires, but that is the beginning of the writing of A Course in Miracles. And so having said all this, it seems to us who are on the spiritual journey that we should have these extraordinary visions or experiences that Helen had and rejected all along the way. And you should know that in her own countenance, this sounds almost impossible to believe. But when she got involved with I'm going to say his last name is Wapnick. He's written a book also about Helen Schucman and A Course in Miracles, and he's one of the real devotees of A Course in Miracles. But when he got involved with her and they were putting this book together that she was writing and they were getting ready to publish, he said, this is the most amazing stuff I have ever read. He said, this to me is the most amazing writings next to the Bible on earth. And so he said, you should feel honored that you have this ability to be the one to do this. And she said, I believe the writing. No, she said, I believe it's true. How did she say it? She said something to the effect, it is true, but I still don't believe it. This is when the Course is really almost fully. So she has this dichotomy throughout. She writes A Course in Miracles over a period of 6.5 years, goes over the writings with Bill Thetford every day after that, and they put it together, and then they got involved with the Scotch couple, and we're going to publish it. But she had remained this type of resistance throughout the writing of it. Wapnick says later on in life she actually got it. It hit her like it should have from the very beginning. And I just want to share with you, finally, because when I give talks like this, everybody's out there thinking, oh my God, I've never had a spiritual, mystical experience. I've never had any visions. I'm here studying the truth. I'm meditating, I'm reading the Bible, I'm reading, spiritual books, but I've never had, visions or mystical experiences. That's because most people don't, even those who become enlightened and become masters, sages, and teachers. They never had visions that preceded. And some of them did, but not many of them. So it comes down to this final Course in Miracles truth. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the old text, page 236, in your new edition on 254. Awakening unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will, and out of quiet recognition of the truth in them. The attraction of light must draw you willingly, and willingness is signified by giving. Those who accept love of you become your willing witnesses to the love you gave to them. Is that it? Do I have part 2 here? Oh, gave them. And it is they who hold it out to you. Can we take this back again one time, please? Awakening unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will. Just let that idea filter into you. That means that you're prompted and motivated almost in every situation, certainly in any situation where you have to make a big decision. That line is what separates the masters of life from those who are not yet masters of life. Awakening unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will, and out of quiet recognition of the truth in them. The attraction of light must draw you willingly, and willingness is signified by giving. Those who accept love of you become your willing witnesses to the love you gave them, and it is they who hold it out to you. So, I guess we're going to meditate together now. I'm going to follow this up next week. There is so much more to be said about A Course in Miracles and what has come out of it, so that we'll be up to date on it. So you can just take a couple of deep breaths. As you release your breath, release any cares or concerns that you may have right now. Just become willing to be seated here. And the Course speaks about willingness being the optimum word, idea, ideal How willing am I to experience the reality of God in every person, in every place, in every condition? How willing am I to experience the reality of God as love in every person, in every place, in every condition? How willing am I to experience God as love in every person, in every place, in every condition? And in seeking this awareness, we should know that holding a grievance against anyone blocks the reality of God as love. Holding a grievance against anyone blocks the reality of God as love. Finally, we can decide to bring to mind any person or persons that we may have been holding grievances against. And we can release them with this ideal: the love of God in you and me sets us free. The love of God in you and me sets us free. The love of God in you and me sets us free. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to realize the altar of God is within. To recognize this in every moment, we give thanks. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. As we're preparing to do this, those of you that are watching this on live stream, you can set up a donation any way right here, or scroll down if you're on our website to that tag that says donate. And right here we can bring these gifts into our hands, into our minds, into our hearts, and bless them with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
Oh, my mind, learn thou self-control. Oh, my mind, learn thou self-control. Enter not the house of senses, enter not the house of senses. Learn thou self-control. Learn thou self-control. Oh, my mind, learn thou self-control. Oh, my mind, learn thou self-control. Enter not the house of senses, enter not the house of senses. Learn thou self-control. Learn thou self-control.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen.
Choir is meeting at 6:30 on Thursdays. You're still welcome to join us. We're doing music that's really not difficult to learn, but it just needs a number of people to really present it and give their love out to the congregation on Easter Sunday. It's going to be a wonderful experience. And you're going to be singing also the Sunday before Easter Sunday, which is Palm Sunday. And and it's really beautiful music that you'll really love to be part of.
Well, that's on Thursday night at 6:30. If you want a way to share and give and be part of this choir that shares the love at these special occasions on Easter and Palm Sunday. So we'll have our group discussion in the fellowship hall. There are refreshments over there. If you want to take some refreshments, circle up some chairs. We can discuss anything you want to discuss. I will be over there in about 10 minutes. To everyone, have a beautiful day.